success is an accumulation of decisions that you make.
Mm.
I heard a quote recently from one of the advisors of my company. His name is Rory. He's a tech guy. And Rory said, who you are in the future is who you are today. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, let me break it down to you. Whatever you're doing today is creating your future. So the person that you are in the future, you already know who you're going to be based upon how you're behaving today. So who do I need to become? What skills do I need to develop? What mindset do I need to develop now to become that person that I'm envisioning in my head?
All right, Devante Roach, welcome to the Always for the Culture podcast, presented by Elements, sponsored by the United Way. We're so happy to have you. You're an Elements alum, and you're doing fantastic things. So we are so honored to just have you on the podcast to share a bit of your testimony and talk about what you're doing now and just inspire everybody.
Absolutely. You know, you're like the only person I'm going to let get away with calling me by my full government.
Oh, I sure did. What's your artist name? You just go by Devante or?
I know about Devante, but I mean, even here in the corporate world, it's Devante Lamonte.
Oh, so that's what I need to start calling you from now on.
They're like, is that one person or two people? Depends on which day you're asking.
Right, exactly. Everybody got their way of going about introducing themselves. So I'm glad you clarified that too, because you want the masses to come at you correct.
That's right. You got to speak up for yourself out here, no one else is going to do it for you.
Absolutely. I was hoping to have you talk a little bit about your journey as an artist, as a CEO of your own company, music company. Could you share a little bit about that, about Aspirio?
Yeah, well, I mean, before I even go into Aspirio, let's go back to the beginning. So Elements for me was a great escape from a troubled home life. I mean, you know what it's like growing up in Cincinnati, or how it can be.
Right.
I think a lot of it goes back to, just the family that you're born into, those dynamics, and also some factors, just of our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while I was in high school, I started going to Elements. I was actually a freshman at Purcell Marion, and I was living in Evanston at the time, which, let's say, it's a neighborhood that in the past was quite affected by gang violence, drugs. I mean, the police didn't even going into St. Ledger and all these different places that had in the past been known for crime.
Mm-hmm.
So there was always this pool of I was a bright scholar. I had graduated middle school valedictorian. I was also playing football, doing music, but there was always this the people from the hood were like, yo, but you're not selling dope.
Mm-hmm.
And to be completely honest, I actually tried selling drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And two of the kids that I started out selling with, one was set up by the police and killed, and the other was killed by someone who was supposed to be his friend. And all of that had happened in about 2 weeks of me trying out that lifestyle. And it was always bizarre to me because I'm like, you're standing on the corner, the police know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So high risk, low reward. And that for me was enough to say, you know what, I'm going to stick to my strengths, which are using this, and doing music and sports. And so Elements was a place where I was safe. Elements was a place where I was encouraged to be a leader. Elements was a place where music was the hook. And because every kid that goes in there probably thinks the point is to try and come in there and be a rap star and get famous. But in reality, the music was a hook to start learning things about values.
Right.
and being a contributor to the community and having a voice in doing things a different way than what you've been taught. So I just wanted to start with that because a lot of people don't know that part of my history. And I think that it's critical to bring up that I turned out the way that I did, not because I didn't have those challenges, but because I was brave enough to accept the consequences of not giving in,
Mm.
right? So Elements for me was 2007/8. So what have I been doing for the past years? So after Elements and after high school, I went to study at Berklee College of Music in Boston. I was fortunate enough to, while I was still in high school, meet a family that had adopted me and took me in and, paid for me to study at arguably the best music institution, even beyond like Juilliard and some of the other great conservatories. And that eventually led to me studying here in Spain, where I am now, overlooking the sea from my office. Um, how did I get here, though? It's a great question.
Right. It took a lot of steps. Wasn't like
Yeah.
wasn't a straightforward path.
Oh man, I'm trying to keep it focused because there's so much I want to say.
Oh, say it all. Say what's on your heart.
What's on my heart is success is an accumulation of decisions that you make.
Mm.
I heard a quote recently from one of the advisors of my company. His name is Rory. He's a tech guy. And Rory said, who you are in the future is who you are today.
Mm.
And I was like, but what do you mean? And he's like, let me break it down to you. Whatever you're doing today is creating your future.
Mm.
So the person that you are in the future, you already know who you're going to be based upon how you're behaving today. So who do I need to become? What skills do I need to develop? What mindset do I need to develop now to become that person that I'm envisioning in my head, right?
Right.
And when he broke it down to me, I was just like, damn, like how often are we trying to be something or project something that we want to be, but completely missing that the only thing you have to do is just stay true right now,
Right.
this
Absolutely.
moment. And that for me was number one, it brought me a bit of comfort and staying true to myself because I'm very serious about that. I've always done things my way. And people will give you a lot of crap about that, right? Because it can be sometimes like if you're 100% yourself, then it makes them question if they're being them authentic selves, their authentic selves. So yeah, it was a accumulation of steps. What I do today is very, 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 very different than I had ever imagined I'd be doing at 29. Today, I am the co-founder and chief executive officer of a music tech company called Aspirio. Our name is based on the word aspire, because you never really arrive, no matter what the objective is, there's always levels, right?
Right.
And what we do is we provide cloud solutions, so applications for the music industry that makes it easy for all stakeholders, whether you're a music manager, a company that buys music, a musician, for everyone to work together better. So today what we do is through the software, we help companies that buy music in large quantities oversee hiring artists, managing contracts, splitting payments, cloud storage. So it's a very robust solution that for artists we call a career suite. So if I'm a music creator and I come in, number one, I'm there to make money. Second, I'm there to learn what are all of the different steps I need to take in my career so that I can consistently monetize my music and be able to essentially manage all those different assets like my music, videos, all of these things in one place. So that's what we do today. We're currently a team of 12. That doesn't seem like much, but when you understand the dynamic of going from being 3 co-founders to adding in human beings who were responsible for and their lives, their livelihood depends upon us. It's a lot of pressure.
Right. Absolutely.
A lot.
Now, how does your company allow for the artists to sort of grab hold onto like their own sense of ownership or autonomy when it comes to navigating their career?
Absolutely. The first part is, we're here to level the playing field. So when an artist says something like, you know what, record labels are evil,
Mm.
Spotify is evil, I'm like, okay, let me ask you a question. How much money did it cost you to publish your song to Spotify? And they're like, well, it's free. I'm like, exactly.
Mm.
How much money did it cost to build Spotify's business? $500 million. How much money do you pay to access it? Nothing. As an artist, as a creator. And so our responsibility, first and foremost, is to really help artists understand where does their art fit in the context of the big picture. Because effectively, there's something about like around 8 million artists who are actively working as freelancers, right? So the competition is steep, and there are really, really, really good people out there. How do you understand what's your value in the market? Because here's the thing, the moment that you as an artist decide to like leave your bedroom and say, you know what, this is no longer a hobby, it's a career, you're competing. So our goal is to really help artists become athletes here. No more of this, I'm a musician, I don't really control good this thing about like contracts or that. Ownership is your legacy. Ownership equals financial freedom. Financial freedom, as Hov said, is the only hope. That's what Jay-Z said. And so, you have to own things. You have to own land. You have to own, have intellectual property that you monetize. So we're here to help artists really understand that. And how do we achieve that through our actual software? We offer courses as well. So e-learning.
Awesome. Now, did the inspiration for Spidio come from your own lived experience, it seems like?
100%. Yeah. So across Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Deezer, all the platforms, I've been streamed over 20 million times. Now, there's probably people watching this who have never heard of me. What does that mean? That means that there's such an abundant opportunity as an artist to carve out a niche market. No one has to really know about you, but if you have your faithful 10,000 or 1,000 fans who rock with you and are spending money with you every month, your life is paid for and you get to do what? Create.
Right.
So in my case, what I did is I had a very specific strategy. I understood that I was like, who gets the most visibility when it comes to music? If you're not like a pop star, it was like DJs. So I said, I'm going to leverage DJs to get my name out there. And it worked. When I was first living here in Spain, I started to travel to places like Germany and Italy. And I would literally just show up to studios of DJs that I saw online. I'm like, look, I'm a vocalist, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter. And I happen to be really, really good at what I do. The work speaks for itself. Right. So it was easy to get into a session, but without that level of risk taking, it wouldn't have happened. I'm talking about literally like, I see someone at the time, it was like on Twitter. I'm like, oh, I rock with this person, show some love, build up some goodwill. And then I show up at their studio a week later and they're like, what are you doing here? That could go really wrong, right?
It definitely could.
But always well received. And what ends up happening is I eventually get do some songs with some DJs who are signed to like some electronic labels, and they put the songs out. The songs did well, streamed millions and millions of times, and then people talk. And now to this day, even though my focus is CEO of a company, my phone still rings. I do not have to go look for music jobs.
Right.
Now, of course, what I do is I read the record, or if it's something strategic that makes sense for my own brand, then I do the song. But it was a series of just taking risk after risk after risk.
Wow, that's incredible. how much of the strategy do you believe relied heavily upon like the confidence that you had within yourself? Because it sounds like
Uh,
much of that kind of was like rooted in, you know what? I know I got something good to offer, so I'm just gonna bet on myself.
you know what it came from? Being a loser when I was younger.
Mm.
Like there's so much goodness that comes from being the underdog.
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
and I hope that there's some high schoolers watching this because listen, I'm talking to you.
Yes.
If you're the one who is picked on because your clothes aren't super nice, or maybe your teeth are a little weird, or maybe they call you fat, whatever, your time is going to come. Through me as a youngster, not having everything that I wanted, everything that I did get, I had to work really hard for. So a bit of my story is when I was in high school, I was obese.
Mm.
I weighed 325 pounds.
Mm.
Girls didn't like me. Well, they say they did it. I still had swag though.
Oh yeah.
They say they didn't like me because it wasn't cool to like me. My last name is Roach. Imagine that, a fat, dirty roach.
Mm.
My clothes were always nasty because my mom, well, she was in her path, and you know, she made some decisions as a parent that just, it had a negative effect on us, right? Her children. So something about that period, just like that pressure made a diamond. And I was like, one or two things have to happen. Either I stay being a loser or I flip my mindset and I believe first and foremost that I'm that guy, that the party is where I am. And when I changed that, even before I lost all the weight, I became that guy. Suddenly I'm Mr. R&B Trey Songz, like singing songs in the hallway. And when I saw that's like the psychology and how to be magnetic with this, the rest was history. So I was fortunate enough to like had struggled and then learned from that, and it just taught me resilience.
Mm.
And it really serves now, really being in the corporate world, especially in technology, because I do not look anything like the typical CEO, and especially like at the level that we're playing. So, you might look on LinkedIn and someone's like, yeah, I'm like a CEO. Like, no, like we do this for real.
Right.
Like, we really doing this.
Right.
And this really is for the culture. And I receive a lot of pushback, a lot, even like sometimes even from within my own team of like, are you really the right person to do this? Who better?
Right.
Who took all the risk?
Right.
Who has the thick skin?
Mm.
Who slept on the floor for the first 15 years of their life?
Mm.
Who has the stomach to be able to bet it all and be prepared to lose it? And even if I lose it, I know how to build it all back again.
Mm.
Me.
Right.
So that resilience makes me invincible. I'm not afraid. I have zero fear. Like right now, we're having crises because like we're growing as a team. We're adding in new people. We're hiring for September, and that comes with so much risk, so much responsibility, so many obstacles that there's just a lot of first time things. We're also now working with new investors who are helping our business grow. We just moved into new offices actually on Monday. Like different game, different strategy, but still the same guy, same confidence, same resilience. And people will try and tell you, by the way, oh, you're cocky, tone it down. No, shut up, because we all have light to shine. I have no problem telling someone, yo, that idea that I just put down is genius. And I see how they cringe. And they're like, oh, but you think too high of yourself. And I'm like, you don't think highly enough of yourself. Where's your self-respect? Defend your ideas. Show up for yourself. Treat yourself with respect, because the way that you treat yourself is how others are going to treat you. So that's the energy all day long.
Oh yeah, preach for real. I love it. I'm here for it. And that's so interesting that you made that point to acknowledge that you don't look like the typical, CEO of a tech company, right? And that's so inspiring that you are a person of color who has so much lived experience to add to the building of this empire that you're creating. Like just walking around and living, existing, you're offering up your testimony, you know what I mean? And I commend you for that. I think you're really going to inspire the world for that, especially the young people who are going to watch this. I'm already inspired.
Yeah, you know what? The reason why it's working is because I'm not doing this for me. Oh, man, this isn't for me. I enjoy the benefits of it,
Right.
but it's always with an open hand. It's never like this.
Right.
And the fact that I move through life that way of like, I'm going to bring my best energy because I see it as a service to others. It has, it pays back dividends to me spiritually, because if I'm putting out good vibes, I call it changing my radio station, my frequency. If I'm on the right station, it's magnetic and it brings the right people to me. Right. And then it removes the ones who aren't supposed to be there. They always remove themselves. If life is funny, like you can do an experiment, you know, and I first like had the encounter with this with a previous relationship that I had. I didn't know it at the time, but it was toxic. And my partner, well, this person was like not very supportive of like certain ideas and goals that I had. And then I said one day, what happens if I don't entertain that negativity? If I'm just like, you know what? I respect your perspective.
Right.
And it doesn't define whether I do this or not. And what happens is that person eventually was removed from my path. They removed themselves, literally. So I think the same is true, like with everything day to day. You know, if I'm putting my mind to something, and I say that I'm going to do this and I believe it, yo, the universe is crazy. I don't know how it works. I can't tell you how it works, but I can tell you that it works. It freaking works. So I know that I said a lot. I hope that the answers are landing, that the questions that you're asking me are being filled. But I would just like to bring it all back to like, so the music career, Aspidio, what was it? How much of it was attributed to like self-confidence? I would just say that faith is a very important element. You got to have faith. It's important.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because even just on a basic level, so I think faith, the word itself, is often attributed to like religion or but I think
for sure.
Yeah, I think faith literally just begins with just the belief. And if we're talking about having faith in oneself, it just means believing in yourself. Even if you you're still like walking the line of doubt, one little inkling or sprinkling of faith and just like, you know what? I know I can do something. I may not be that great right now, but I know I can do this thing and I'll be great at it one day. That'll be the spark to take you so far.
Oh yeah. The self-doubt is always going to be there. There's always that little voice that's like, Ninja, you can't do that. I like that voice because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use that as my edge, which by the way goes to success. The only metric for success is, am I better than what I was yesterday?
Yeah.
Am I better than what I was a year ago? The answer is, if you are showing up every day to give the best of you, then absolutely. And that you have to be proud of.
Absolutely.
To be proud of.
Champion the small things, celebrate the small things.
Like, well, I'm gonna wait until I reach whatever like goal to like celebrate and be happy.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
consider it done. It's done.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, and coming from Cincinnati, Well, I would just say from the Black community, like we're quite indoctrinated, by our not our faith, our religion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we're often taught is to put the trust completely outside.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big gap there, because if you are truly made in the image of whatever created you, then you already possess
Mm-hmm.
the natural resources
Right.
to thrive.
Right.
And you don't need permission to thrive. You don't need permission to be excellent, to shine like the sun.
Yeah.
You got it already. And you
Absolutely.
don't need to ask yourself or anyone permission. Like, we're expanding all the time. The universe is expanding as we speak. It's going out, out, out. So I don't even have to try to be big or expansive. I just need to be myself, and I'll be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's more than enough.
More than enough.
The moment we all realize that, you'll feel a sense of ease just kind of like wash over you. But that takes learning. That takes a
Practice.
yeah, it takes practice. It takes enduring hardships to change your mindset, right? Now, to speak a little bit about your company and its contribution to the music industry, could you tell us a little bit about how tech is so instrumental to music, how we consume it, how we share it, how it gets marketed?
Absolutely. All right. So when I was leaving Cincinnati, one thing that often bothered me was the starving artist narrative. There are artists that believe that they need to be poor, to be fighting for scraps, to be considered an artist. I do believe that there's something like a level of creativity and inspiration that can come from lack of resources. And at the same time, when you are in survival mode, you don't have a view of where you're headed. Everything is about right here, right now. And so as I was leaving Cincinnati, I said, I'm going to use myself as a case study to prove that there's an abundance out there. A lot of those realizations were also thanks to Elements, being exposed to, even institutions like CCM and like their e-media program, Dr. Owens, all those guys. Okay, well, there are people who are in like music, entertainment, media, making money, have an opportunity to perform with Wale in 2009 with Elements when he was just getting signed and promoting his album, things like that. I was like, yo, there's no way that, no, I'm going to say it in the affirmative. If they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to prove it. So I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And instead of just studying music, I dual majored and I did music business.
Smart.
Ended up joining the Grammy Foundation, being able to work as an A&R. And I was still doing music and art. But I started to see, I was like, oh, that's where the bags are though.
Yeah, right.
Let me get one of those bags. Then I started working for Universal Music Group, and then I went into consumer electronics, working for Sonos, doing public relations. Ended up doing projects with Oprah, Run the Jewels, Rick Rubin, and then one thing leads to another, meeting people, getting great mentors. One of my mentors is a guy named Gino, who's in Los Angeles, is, Grammy Award winning songwriter, artist. People like that who just lit up my path and showed me, nah, son, there's like billions being generated. Like, do you know how many billions the music generates annually? So then that led to the thesis. I was like, okay, what if I create some software that can help an emerging artist move the way that a major label artist does? Ooh, what a bold proposition. Wow. And it was great because I was naive. I didn't know anything about tech. Because if I was already conditioned and I understood what I was really asking for, I would have stopped. But let me tell you something. Impossible problems are impossible until they're possible. And you just eat the elephant one slice at a time. So when I was in grad school, I said, you know what? All right, my thesis is I'm going to create a software. And I had a co-founder in Berlin, Germany. I said, we're going to make a software that's going to make it easy for artists to not just distribute their music, but do like playlist marketing and campaigns all in one place. We started making it. It was incredibly hard. We started out using some old ass software called FileMaker Pro that actually is not like it's not even a real use case for FileMaker Pro, which was like for file management and record keeping, but we were making a software inside of it. And we reached like some glass ceilings and we're like, okay, we had a functioning business. Our MR, our monthly revenue was decent. We had low costs, but it was really hard to scale. And so we ended up selling to someone who at the time was actually like a co-founder / advisor. I left the business, they bought me out. And then I'm like, shit, I'm just gonna like sell around Europe, write songs, meet people. And that was great because it let me start to like, I left this business role again and went back to being an artist. And then I got to use that business as a lens. And I was like, okay, what are the problems? I got fresh perspective. I've been doing tech for a couple of years. And then I started to see all these possibilities showing up through problems.
Right.
So I mentioned that I've been streamed millions of times. At some point that I was owed something like $50,000 from streaming and I had only collected 100 of those dollars. What's wrong? Is it that the record label is truly evil, or there's some technological limitations? And once I started to really push into it and like making phone calls, talking to my performance rights organization, BMI, and figuring out what's wrong with their relationship with collection societies here in Europe. And then I started talking to, I was like, oh, I'm leaving money on the table. Oh, because I didn't register this contract. Oh, I didn't do copyright.gov. Oh, I didn't sound up for sound exchange. Oh, I didn't know what black box royalties are. Oh, I didn't know that I could actually be licensing this song into film, television, video games. And I was like, wow, this is such a complex thing. How do we make it simple for artists? Technology. Technology is called a lever. It's something that you can use to make another process easier.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, what we're doing at Espirito, we're using technology to digitize an industry that's, for a lot of reasons, not digital. They say it's digital, but it's not. So step one, we help artists get registered for all of the different platforms they should be on.
Good.
Step two, we help artists understand the contracts that they're signing. Step three, we make sure that they have the basic skills for being a freelancer, monetizing their music. So if you're a vocalist, do you know how to tune your vocal? Do you know how to set up a mic? Do you know how to build a session inside of Pro Tools? No?
Right.
Here are resources to learn it. Oh, okay, you finished all these 3 phases. Now jobs are unlocked. You can work. Oh, you made some money. Great. What about your financial planning skills? What did you do with that $500 that you made? Oh, you immediately spent it. Okay. Here's some resources to actually learn about better money planning. And we make it easy for you. So we're taking you through the entire journey. And what you actually find out is that a lot of these are life skills.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So that's how we're doing it. Like we're taking stuff that you're doing in everyday life that's super manual and like boring, hard, and we're turning it into a digital process that you can do right from your phone.
Wow. So you've created this master solution.
Yeah, we call it an all-in-one career suite for artists.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so when you go into your app, you're able to, we even have a studio section where when you're hired for a job, you can compose your lyrics right inside the app. You can record your vocal files inside the app. We have a contract section where we have templates that you can use for different situations that you might encounter. Like if you are out somewhere and someone suddenly invites you to do a concert, your rider, your performance agreement. If you get a phone call and suddenly someone wants to use your song for a movie, having publishing a songwriting template agreement. So those type of things that really make it easier for you to just be mobile, be productive on the go.
Wow. Now, how long did this take you to get to the point where you were able to create something that embodied all these elements? I know you're still
It actually works. Oh man. So I started making the first prototype back in 2016 in grad school. We sold that software to a private buyer in New York. And then we essentially, my partners that I was with, they left, did their own thing. And then I said, all right, I'm going to still do tech, but in a different way. So I came back to Europe. Well, no, I finished grad school 2017, went back to Los Angeles, then came back to Europe. I was living in Madrid, and something happened. I started hearing about these like freelance platforms called Fiverr, Sound Better, and I was like, I'm hearing that I can make money from home recording songs. Let me see what it's about. So dig this. Here's what I did. I studied economics for my graduate degree. It was for the music industry. And what I learned about economics is there's this thing called supply and demand. So you're going to only sell your service or product at a price that the market is willing to pay, right? So I was like, all right, how do I go into this new platform and get jobs? Undercut the competition, sell it at a lower price. So what I did is I sold songs for $10 a pop, writing, recording my voice, editing my voice. Why? My strategy was to get 100 5-star reviews. Somebody's got to be a real a-hole to give you anything less than 5 stars if you do a song for them for $10, even if the song's a bit mediocre. I got my 100 reviews, and then guess what? The price went up. And then I went to another platform, and I learned that even in another platform, the dynamics were different, right? So I was testing, experimenting, and then through that, like I got to a point where I was like, yo, I'm here charging $800 a song plus royalties. Made my first $100,000 from writing songs. And I was like, how the F is it not the same for other artists? So that's when we came back to technology. I was like, because there's too many processes, and also artists don't know. Right. So I came up with this theory. I was like, I'm going to make a solution that's based upon helping artists discover the thousands of ways to monetize their music. Another part of it is helping artists feel more secure about sharing with each other. Because by the way, in an instant, there are billions of people who can instantly become a fan customer. There's enough people out there to become a fan of you and spend money with you, don't worry. And the third thing is I'm going to centralize all of the solutions that we use in our day-to-day, whether it's Google Docs for typing your lyrics, or a recording software, or online finance tool to manage how much you're making. Bring it all into one place, baby. And so with that, I'm trying to condense a long story. I apologize, because it's a lot. It's been a lot of different. At that point, it's 2019, right before the pandemic is happening, and I knew that I wanted to do the software. I was here in Europe traveling around, trying to be cute, and ended up getting deported, actually, because I was getting a new type of permission of residency here, and when you're getting in transition, you can't earn money.
Okay, cool.
I wasn't about to stop making money.
No.
Well, it had consequences. It was like, I don't know where your black ass gonna go, but you ain't going here. So go back to the United States. So I went to LA. That's, I've spent a lot of time living there, and it's fun. It's great. I got all my homies there. And as I'm like arriving, I'm like making a list. I'm like, there's this thing called the hedgehog concept in business where it's like, make a list of like what you're good at, make a list of what people are willing to pay you for, and make a list of what you're passionate to do, and find the intersecting point of all those three things, and that's your service offering. And I realized after making a long list, I was like, all right, I'm headed to a market where there's lots of SoundCloud rappers who probably don't have their own equipment or don't want to own it. For whatever reason, they don't have recording studio. And they're probably paying pretty high fees being in that market to be able to record. So what are we going to do? I am going to go around offering a mobile recording service. I found a friend to sublease me his Prius, and I went around recording songs. This is my co-founder, hey, Geronimo. I'm on a podcast segment. I want you to say hello. This is my co-founder, Geronimo Marcico, from Argentina.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, dang, that's right. He can't hear you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I was just telling her the story about essentially how do we arrive to where we are today. So explaining all the different transitions, being here, being in Los Angeles, coming back, how we're using software and technology to help artists grow their careers, and how it's all possible because technology allows you to do what? Scale.
Please, what's favorite part of your story?
I would say the most favorite part of my story.
I'm the podcast right now.
He's the new host. I would say my favorite part of the story, truly, honestly, this new chapter. Us entering into Lanzadera, us growing our team, us actually having a great product, which you guys haven't seen it, but it's so beautiful. Like anyone who loves like applications and software, it looks beautiful, it's intuitive. So now we're like at a place where I feel like we got like our baseline, and like we really like from here, like the sky's the limit. So yeah, man. But I just wanted you to be able to say hello and look for good and big things from this video, because we're going to the moon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
No more words from me.
Bueno, gracias, bro. Voy a seguir con
Have a great day.
You too.
Yeah, thank you, bro. We have this incredible view I will show you guys at the end where it's unbelievable. Okay, so I was explaining, so what happens is I go around recording rappers, and I end up eventually getting a call from a friend who's like, hey, can you come and record me for a voiceover that I'm doing? I need you to do some voiceover for a film, because he's an actor. His name is Zach. He's in LA. So I go and meet Zach, and at Zach's house, he had another friend there, this guy named Tomas Vesieri, who's, I didn't know at the time, but he works inside of a fund. He's an investor. And he's like, how is this not a thing? I called it the music box. He's like, why isn't this existing like at a big level? And I was like, look, bro, all I know is that this is paying my bills.
Right.
And anything outside of that, like, I don't have the answers for. He was like, look, you don't know me, obviously, but I find cool projects for my firm, for our investors. Do you mind if I tell my co-founders about this project? And I'm like, sure. So the thing is, in LA, everybody has this like Jesus complex. They're like, I'm gonna put you on. I'm gonna get you signed to a record. I'm gonna invest in you. So I was like, yeah. Well, actually, the guy, he said he'll call me in 2 weeks. He called me a week later, invites me to this crazy rooftop restaurant, talks to him, and he's like, what's your 5-year plan? And I'm like, bro, I'm trying to survive until next week. What are you talking about? He's like, listen to me. Do you want me to go down a list of all of my famous friends here in LA who are in the biggest music bands, biggest actors, and they can't pay their bills? You want to know how many of my friends had to sell their Grammys to cover their mortgage? And he's like, you're a right person, and you are different than a lot of music people that I've met. You have a great idea,
Yeah.
What if you gave the next 3 to 5 years of your life to make something that will make even your grandchildren eat?
Mm.
I was like, damn.
Right.
He's like, here's how I see it. The music box will become the food truck of the music industry.
Mm.
Setting up in high traffic areas. Literally, the first project was us getting a food truck and retrofitting it to be a recording studio on wheels. And it was like, it was brilliant. And the interesting thing was our business model wasn't actually even charging for hours. It was a marketplace of music creators being able to do jobs, but coming right into the vehicle, recording their vocals, delivering it through our software, and getting their money.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, this is amazing. By this time, it's March 2020. Guess who's knocking? Pandemic.
Yeah.
What do you need for mobile recording studios? You need people. Well, we ain't got people no more.
Right.
We took some seed money. Seed money is like early investment. And now we got a team of people. I'm fast forwarding a lot of stuff and I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Mm.
So finally, we made the tough call. We shut it down.
Yeah.
We shut it down. As by the time May came around, it was very clear this is gonna last a very long time. And I had a small window of opportunity to come back to Europe. I figured out, I hired some lawyers. By the way, one of the best investments you can make, have great lawyers.
Mm.
They're expensive, but have great lawyers, guys. Have great lawyers. So my lawyers took care of my whole deportation situation, got it solved, and I was able to come back to Europe. And that's where I had decided that I was like, you know what? I did things in the wrong order. I started with a physical experience, which was great if it worked, but now we're highly digital.
Right.
I still have this large database of companies that buy music from artists and a database of music creators who want jobs. Timing is perfect. Artists don't know where to make money. So I was like, you know what? We don't really have a software done yet. So I'm just going to do it all through Google Apps, spreadsheets to manage payments due to creators, Google Drive to freaking manage all of the files. And I just started calling up homies. And finally, my music manager, Juan Pablo, who's from Colombia but lives in LA, he's like, Devo, I got you. Whatever you need, I'm your guy. Let me help you grow this out. And so pretty much since the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we have been just like kind of building this business up, getting momentum. And then finally, September of last year, I presented to some investors in what's called a business accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
A business accelerator takes early stage companies and founders, and they give you the resources you need to grow. So they'll put money in, help you build your team, get all your legal processes in place. So I presented, got inducted into a program called Star Startups. Fast forwarding, met my co-founder that you just saw, another co-founder, Nico, who's working from home today. And we hired a team and we started building the software. And the leverage that we have, though, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, relationships,
Right.
contacts. When I call a company that's spending 12 million euros or dollars a year in music, I call, they answer because I got good product.
Right.
I work with some of the best artists in the world, and they're sitting here doing jobs with us. And now we have a beautiful, beautiful platform they can log into and manage all the processes. And so it's just evolved into this crazy thing. And I know we've been talking a long time, so I'll just bring it to this, which is survive. And eventually you thrive.